All right, grade 6, we are beginning our next unit on data and probability. Our big idea for the data section is collecting, displaying, and analyzing data helps us to solve problems and to understand the real world. So our focus is going to be on collecting, displaying, and analyzing that data. Today, our concept is to demonstrate an understanding of how to design and administer a questionnaire. Questionnaire is also sometimes called a survey. Okay, so specifically, it's understanding how to design it and how to administer it. Administer means to give, so how to give that questionnaire or give that survey. So a couple things to consider when we are writing our questions for a questionnaire. The question should be understood in the same way by all people. So it should be something that's easily understood, clearly written, and in such a way that there's not any words that are open to interpretation or kind of fuzzy, might be different for some people. So for example, suppose you wanted to find out how much TV people watch. You think of asking, do you watch a lot of TV? But the word a lot is not a great choice because what's a lot to me as a parent might not be a lot to a child, for example. Differences of opinion on what a lot would be. A better question would be, how many hours of TV do you watch in a typical week? Because that gives a very specific answer and it's not open to interpretation. Your opinion of a lot might be not very much, and my opinion of a lot might be very different from that. The other thing that should happen is that each person, should find an answer she or he would choose. So when you ask a survey question, sometimes you give options as your answer. So everybody should be able to find their possible answer there. So for example, let's take a look. Suppose you want to find out people's favorite sports to watch on TV. You're thinking of asking, what is your favorite sport to watch on TV? Hockey or baseball? But that might not be the sport that person prefers to watch. For example, in my house, we watch soccer. That's not an option here. I don't have that as a possibility. So some people may prefer a different sport. Others may not watch any sports at all on TV. So you need to add more choices. A better question would be, what is your favorite sport to watch on TV? Hockey, baseball, soccer, other, and with an option to specify. Maybe everybody watches tennis. Maybe everybody watches swimming. Or none. So you should always have an other option when you are listing all of the possibilities that you think they might choose, because there might be something in there that you don't think of that they might choose. So there should always be an other. The question should be fair. It should not influence a person's answer. If it does, it is a biased question. We've used this word in social, being biased, but it also applies here in math. Suppose you want to find out people's opinions on how often students should have phys ed classes. You think of asking, studies have shown that daily physical education for children is important. How often should elementary students have physical education classes? Well, here with this first statement saying that studies have shown that it's important, you're influencing people to think that, oh yeah, if studies say it, it must be important. And so then that's going to influence their response. Your better option is to not include this kind of information. Just ask this question: how often should students have physical education classes? Instead, with that addition of how many times a week, so we have again that specific response. So a better question would be, how many times a week should elementary students have phys ed classes? Never, once, twice, 3 times, 4 times, daily. That includes all of the possible options. We go to school 5 days a week, daily, 4 times a week, 3 times a week, twice a week, once a week, and never. All options are included. It's a clear, specific question, asks how many times a week, and there's no biased information there. Nothing has been said to influence them to respond in one way or another. The other thing to consider is the location in which the survey is conducted. That can also lead to bias. For example, is it a good idea to ask people in a dentist's office if it's important to brush your teeth? Well, probably not. If they're going to the dentist, do you think maybe they think teeth and taking care of your teeth is important? Probably. So you're going to want to ask that question in a location that has nothing to do with dentists or teeth. Perhaps you'd ask that question at school. Perhaps you'd ask that question at a mall. You'd be standing at the mall near the entrance, and as people come in, you would ask them that question. And then the location doesn't indicate a biased sample. Okay, the people that we survey is what we consider the sample. As well, the sample that is surveyed can lead to bias. So as we said, a sample is the people that you survey. For example, is it a good idea to ask only the kids playing soccer if we should replace the playground with a second soccer field? So if we go out to our soccer field and we're only asking those students, should we get rid of the playground? Should we have a soccer field there instead? They're likely to say yes, please, because we don't have enough soccer fields and we're always arguing about who gets the soccer field. Whereas there's lots of students that play in the playground and perhaps their answer might be different. So the sample that you choose, the people that you choose to ask, is also important. You want to make your sample as random as possible. Some of the different ways of doing that is to go to a completely unbiased location and ask everybody that comes in the door. In our school surveys, when we've done surveys at school sometimes, it's been ask 5 people from each class, ask the first 5 on the class list, choose popsicle sticks from that particular class so that it's random. You do not go and ask the friends in that class because your friends in that class, because again, that is not a random sample. That would be a biased sample. So considering who you're asking and how you're choosing who you're asking, it should be random. Anybody should have a chance of being chosen to answer that question. Oh, and a quick review of first-hand versus second-hand data, because that will come up at some points throughout this unit. Reminder, first-hand data is when you directly ask or collect that information. So if we were conducting these surveys and we were the ones doing the actual answering and asking and they were giving us the response, that would be first-hand data. Second-hand data is gotten from somewhere else. It could be that you've gotten the information from a website. It could be that you've gotten the information from a book. All of those kinds of things are second-hand data where you haven't gotten the actual information yourself. Perhaps it's a newspaper and so on. All right, so here we have Mia. She wanted to find out which Canadian singer her classmates liked the best. She handed out a questionnaire. She asked this question: who is your favorite Canadian singer? Avril Lavigne, Susan Aglukark, Nelly Furtado, Paul Brandt, Brian Mello, or other, with the line there. She recorded her results in a tally chart, and often we do record our results in a tally chart. Now, a tally chart is not a graph. It is just a way to record and collect the data. It's not a way to display the data. So be careful about that. It is not a graph. It is a chart. Mia concluded that Avril Lavigne was the most popular singer of those named. Mia's question was fair. She gave a number of different options. She has an other. She didn't give any information beforehand that was biased or biasing her question. She didn't indicate her own preferences. She didn't say anything that tried to influence that person's answer. It was a very fair question. All right, now it's your turn to practice. You are going to work on page 250, numbers 1, 2, 4, and 5. You are going to design and at times administer a questionnaire. When you are administering your questionnaire in class, please make sure that you do it with as little talking as possible. Write out your question, have your options available, and ask that student by just showing them your page. They can point to the response so it's not disruptive to the grade 5s who are still working. Away you go. If you have questions along the way, let me know.